Welcome back to Tiny Grimes Games, and I'm here with another Star Wars Destiny video. And today we have day 3 in spoiler week. They're actually, just as I went to record this, there's been a whole pile of new spoilers put out in Polish. I'll be going over those tomorrow in the last day of spoiler week. But first I'm going to cover 3 spoilers put up by the Chance Cube today, and my final exclusive spoiler that's not looking so exclusive anymore from FFG. So let's go ahead and start with the Chance Cube spoilers. We have New Orders, which is a really interesting card. I like it a lot. The cost is high, as I think it should be. For 2, you get to basically switch the battlefield and use its claim ability. It says nothing out about claiming. This doesn't end your turn. So for 2, you get to put the battlefield in that you want, immediately use its claim ability. Let's say you're playing Poe Ray or something. You use that, so for 2, you get to switch to your Emperor's Throne Room, resolve one of Poe's dice, and then next turn as your action, you could claim it and resolve his other die, and do just 1,000,000 damage in a turn. I like the cost of it. It's a really strong effect, so I very much like it being 2. I don't think it's an amazing card. I don't think it'll see a lot of play, but I think there will be a couple decks that use this to great effect. And those are cards I really like to see in the game. We're seeing, with Spirit of Rebellion, a whole bunch of very powerful, ubiquitous cards that will be everywhere. I love seeing cards like this that will be very effective in some decks, not so much in others. Another card that fits this very well is Snap. Snap is such a cool card. While one of his dice are in the pool, your opponent must spend a resource to claim. I was just talking with somebody the other day about how I wanted some effect that either makes it harder to claim or there's a negative effect. A battlefield that says something like, forced when claim must give up a resource. So this is basically exactly what I was saying. I really like this idea. And what's also really cool about him, he only has 8 health. So for the same cost as Rey at 912, the guy only has 8 health, so he's kind of easy to kill if you really need the battlefield and you want to spend the resources. But he also has 2 disrupt sides, which I think is really cool, and gives us more and more opportunities to make this sort of choky disrupt deck that, quite frankly, I think we're going to need with all the powerful cards we're seeing coming out. And it has a mill side as well, which is awesome because you can play that with whatever that card is called that lets you increase your mill side by 2. So now that could be potentially a 3. It's another red mill side to couple with that card. This is one of those guys that is not going to see a lot of play. But in the decks he does see play in, he's going to be really useful. And being able to have 2 dice for only 12 means you're going to have one of these dice out. It's a great way to disrupt. This will probably be one of the first decks I try because I'm really interested in alternative ways to win that are not just simply I'll do damage faster than you can. I really like this idea of maybe I can slow my opponent down more reliably. Maybe with Maz Kanata or the next card we're about to see, I can just roll out his disrupt and boom, immediately resolve it. That card being Fast Hands. So Fast Hands to me is amazing. A 0 cost upgrade that lets you roll your guy and resolve a die. I mean, this card is going to be everywhere. I mean, this will be a reason to play yellow. I've seen people say things like, well, you know, it takes away from the amount of upgrades you can have on a character. And that's true. It's not going to be something that you'd potentially want late game, though you might want a late game because you may get your opponent down to, say, 3 health, 2 health, and you say, oh, okay, so if I just put Fast Hands on and then next turn when I roll, as long as I roll damage, I flat win, it could be great for that. But what it's going to be really amazing in is upgrade light decks, something akin to Vader Raider right now. So for instance, if this was just an Awakenings card, it would be in Vader Raider and it would push Vader Raider to even new heights, right? Vader oftentimes does not have a lot of upgrades, especially early. You slap this on 4-0. You can still play all your mitigation. You roll Vader. Oh, cool. I hit my 3. Boom, 3. That's incredibly powerful in Awakenings. Just, I would go so far as to say almost brokenly powerful in Awakenings. But what we're seeing is anything that looks way over the top right now is not. Spirit of Rebellion is a whole nother power ceiling. I made that prediction a long time ago. It's come true far more than I could have ever predicted. Every card seems like it's really strong. And now what's interesting is Jango Fett in Awakenings was this completely over-the-top character that really I don't want to say hampered the metagame. It did early. People adjusted, started playing Leia Akbar. It's a trap deck to prey on it, and it's kind of brought it back down. But his ability was the best ability in Awakenings, and now everyone gets it. And so you're looking at this, and it's less of Jango is OP and more of he was the beginning of a trend, right? We saw Tactical Mastery, we saw Jango, we saw a couple of these ways to cheat more actions all in, sort of in this boat. Now it feels like your whole deck is going to be able to be these if you want. You could do, fast hands with force speed and tactical mastery, and maybe in a Jango deck too, and just all the actions all day. Han Rey with holdout blasters and fast hands and force speeds. My mind is kind of spinning right now. I feel like the game that we've been playing doesn't really exist anymore, to be honest. I feel like we're going to really be playing a pretty new game and have to have some serious adaptation in play style. And I don't really know what to say right now. I kind of feel like interrupts might be needed. If people are going to be able to do 5-6 actions in a row between a holdout blaster into a force speed into fast hands, which might sound like some magical Christmas land moment, but I don't think it is. I think when you have a preponderance of these kind of cards, you just get to a point where you're going to have them all the time, and that's what scares me. I love Tactical Mastery and Hit and Run as one-ofs that happened one time. I really don't like cards like Fast Hands for how I envision this game. But what I'm quickly realizing is how I've been envisioning this game is totally different than what the game actually is. So we'll see moving forward. It's going to be very interesting how a card like Fast Hands, coupled with force speed, impacts the game in the meta. But I want to talk about my card here, which you've probably already seen, the Polish variant. So if nothing else, this does lend credence to the fact that those are real cards. They're not just photoshopped cards. But with Slave 1, we have a really exciting option, I think. Having a vehicle at 4 for villains that is very powerful is something we didn't have. You had to make the choice. You either could run a TIE Fighter at 3, which, to be honest, I've always felt was a little underwhelming for 3. If I'm going to pay 3, I kind of want something a little better than a TIE Fighter. And more that it's so slow. But for 4, you get a really strong card with 4 damage sides on it. A 2, a 3, and a 4 are very strong. And this special essentially changes the way your opponents can play the game. And anytime you can put down a card that says, hey, play the game different now, that is incredibly powerful. Your opponent can't just basically roll out 2 characters worth of dice and re-roll if you have that Slave 1 special on the board. They're gonna have to make real serious choices, right? What if they have a character with three upgrades on them and you have the Slave 1 special showing? I think they have to remove that before they can roll that character. So do they pass with that character? That would be madness, right? But can they afford to do 5 damage? It is distributed as they wish, but I gotta say, anytime you say, hey, do 5 damage, you distribute it as you wish, that doesn't really ease that very much. And really, just rolling an elite character for 2, that's not bad. So it essentially is 4 2 or more damage sides. It's a really, really strong special. I think this card is going to be really good. It's so hard for me to say any card is going to be good right now, to be honest, but I'm gonna backtrack that a little bit. You put this card in Awakenings, this is a great card. It would go really well with a whole bunch of decks. Any deck that can make money Underworld Connections, I think, suddenly would become quite a bit better with a card like this. I'd be kind of interested in running some deck that's like Vader, not Vader, Dooku, Jabba, and a Stormtrooper or something like that, and going Drudge Work and Connections, and suddenly that slow deck that's always been kind of blah before because it just dies too fast. Now you have Slave 1 you're building towards. I mean, Slave 1 is just so much better than TIE Fighter, and it's so much more reasonable to get than something like ATST. I really like this card. I think it's going to be a good card. I'm not going to say it's going to have a profound effect on the meta because I don't know what is happening right now. Seeing the other cards that have been spoiled. There's a card that blows up a vehicle. Maybe that just completely nullifies Slave 1. I don't know. Maybe all vehicle cards are dead in Spirit of Rebellion. I haven't looked closely enough. We'll have to see. So stay tuned. Tomorrow I will bring the last day of spoiler week, and I'll try my best to wrap my head around the whole set as it's now been spoiled pretty much, and come back with some more thoughts of where, what cards look really impactful, what it looks like is happening with the game, and hopefully you enjoy Slave 1 and the crazy week that is spoiler week, and I'll see you next time on Tiny Grimes Games.